Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Yo, only at the bar room, yo. Let's go. It's the show called Bears 100 Proof. We like to tear down the roof, talking ball, ripping balls. Everybody gonna have a ball, so pull up a bar stool. But we just got one rule: you gotta love them Bears. If not, take the stairs. Trubisky, Cohen, A-Rob, and more. Nagy's offense, yeah, that's one to adore. Mack, Akeem, EJ, and Fuller. Pagano's defense is a mofo killer. Top analysis with no paralysis. Intoxicating interviews like some really good booze. A joke here, a joke there. 100p. So tell me if you ready for thee. Let's go.
Bears 100 proof.
We keeping it 100, baby.
What's up? This is Joel Iyebuniwe, aka Iggy, and you guys are listening to Bears Barroom Radio.
We keeping it 100, baby.
What's up, Bears fans? It's Josh Woods, linebacker for the Chicago Bears, and you're listening to Bears Barroom with these crazy guys. Hold on tight, but you're gonna get a good show.
We keeping it 100, baby.
This is Earl Bennett, former Bears wide receiver, and you guys are rocking out with Bears Barroom.
Bears Barroom. We keeping it 100, baby.
What's up, Chicago Bears fans? This is Thomas Jones, former Chicago Bear, and you're listening to Bears Barroom Radio. Bear down, baby.
Hey guys, it's Ryan Nall, running back for the Chicago Bears, and you're listening to the Bears Barroom.
We keeping it 100, baby.
Cheers, Bears fans! This is the most scandalous, notorious, cum-sucking show on Bears Barroom Network, and I am Aldo Gandia, the chief asshole here, but don't you worry, I've got another asshole in the room. His name is Shayne, the smartest man in the barroom, Marsaw. Our very special guest will join us in a little while and should be introduced in barroom fashion. Dan Aguirre's pipes will do the honor. But first, I just want to say that I introduced the show that way because we did something wrong recently, and we deserve to be castigated as we have been on social media. We've made amends with our former colleague, and we're hoping to put the situation behind us. Perhaps Shayne and I will talk about it at the end of the show, but what we're going to do is get back to normal, talk Chicago Bears football, have a few laughs, maybe throw in some music, and just get back to Bears 100 Proof at its very best. Shayne, how are you, my friend?
If I'm only the second biggest asshole here tonight, Aldo, I think I'm doing something right, brother. How the hell are you?
I am doing well. I'm really excited about this show. Our special guest is waiting in the wings, and it's going to be fun to talk football with her and talk football with you because you are the smartest man in the barroom. So I'm sure you've got lots and lots of knowledge to share with us.
Well, this little dead zone that we know in June in the NFL, man, it gets my juices flowing. I'm thinking about the end of July when we kick off camp. And I think all three of us, including our guest and all these barflies out there, we're going to have to book our rooms in Miami because I think we're going to have a hell of a party there in February.
That is so true. You know what? You're absolutely right, though, about this time of the year. And I find it interesting that a lot of, people who cover the Chicago Bears, are trying to find things to talk about. I could talk about tons of stuff, and it doesn't have to be about the 2019 season. I mean, one of the things that we're going to talk about on this show is some of our favorite moments from the 2018 season, which is the kind of the foundation of what's going on this season. So that's going to be an interesting topic. I could talk Bears any day of the year, any time. It's just so much damn fun.
Oh my God, it's my life. Other than my family, I mean, it's right there. I probably wear a Bears hat or a Bears shirt or something Bears related at least 4 to 5 times a week. People, if I don't wear something Bears are like, what the hell's wrong with you, man? You don't have something Bears on. It's crazy. It's a lifetime commitment, but I wouldn't want it any other way, man. You know what I mean? I love this team. I love the direction that they're headed. I feel this franchise has finally figured it out and entered this new century, which is totally refreshing, and I'm ready to go. Let's kick off right now.
I'm ready to go, too, with our new guest. And so I'm going to have the famous Dan Aquire introduce her with his incredible pipes. Here comes Dan right now.
Get ready to turn up your hair, because it's about to get hot in the bar room. Her spicy sports takes have filled the airwaves of Texas via ESPN San Antonio. Her writing sizzles off the screen at sportsastoldbygirl.com. She's about to scorch your ears because she's got a burning desire to talk Bears football. And she wanted to do it here in the place that she calls the infamous Bears Bar Room. Smack your sweaty palms together and hoot and holler. Well, wait, I guess I should point out one more thing. Shayne Marsaw, you have to behave. You have to behave, you pervert. Okay, so all together now, one more time. Disciples, degenerates alike, let me hear it for Carolina.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Hey.
I'm happy to be here. This is an honor. I can't believe I'm here in the Bears bar room. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. I'm ready.
Can you kick field goals? Let's get it out of the way.
Yeah, I can kick, and I can kick a field goal, and honey, I do not kick with a low trajectory. Okay.
I bet you've kicked a lot of guys in the nuts, too.
Yeah, maybe once or twice. They can't handle it.
Well, we've got a lot to find out about you, Carolina Teague. You reached out to me, I think it was about a month or two ago, and you said, I am ready anytime you want to talk Chicago Bears football. Tell me what brought you to the bar room. How'd you hear about us, and how's that whole thing?
You know what? I follow a lot of Chicago Bears fans on Twitter, and they like a lot of your stuff. I like a lot of the tweets that you guys put out. It seems like you guys are very consistent. I listen to some of your content. I like the takes that you guys have. And I felt like this is the place for me. If I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan, and I've always wanted to talk Chicago Bears sports. I'm in Texas, and I get ragged on a lot because everybody here is Cowboys fans on the air. When I go on the air, it's Cowboys fans, Spurs fans, even Texans fans, and there's a couple of Bears fans, but I'm starting to wave down here. I want all the Chicago Bears fans down here to get together, and I just felt like this is the place for me. I'm ready to talk Chicago Bears. This is what I'm born to do, honey.
I think what she's saying, Aldo, is that Marsaw magic spreads all the way to Texas from New York.
You know what? It's really good over here. Last year when we were in the playoffs, there's this place in Austin. It's called Buford's. There was at least over 500 Bears fans there watching the games. Pretty awesome. I got to send you guys some clips. But we're planning on bringing that watch party to San Antonio, so it's really exciting.
Outstanding.
Awesome.
How'd you become a Bears fan?
So I'm from Chicago. I was born there, and I moved down here when I was a teenager. I think what really stuck out to me as far as being a Bears fan was, when Devin Hester did the touchdown return when the Bears went to the Super Bowl against the Colts. And unfortunately, we lost because I blame Rex Grossman. I think he's trash. That really broke my heart. I just remember the heartbreak there. And then my fandom kind of started at that point. So that's where the ball started to get rolling for me.
Outstanding. Any favorite player that you like to brag about?
I love Brian Urlacher. He's one of my favorites. I'm also a Peanut Punch girl. I like me some Peanut Tillman. And I also liked Brandon Marshall. I know it's crazy. I just like the fact that he was real outspoken about his mental health. And I also like that he was very, very passionate. I really like seeing him on the field acting very passionate, and that's something that I liked from him too. He was one of my favorites as well. Oh, and then I also like Alshon Jeffrey. Fuck
him. Fuck him.
Well, he said some bad things, but when he played with us, he was really good.
He's
And
a
then he went
stud.
to the Eagles, so whatever.
Well, I actually have both of those guys. I think everybody you mentioned, I have on my favorites list that I'm doing on Bears Barroom, at Bears Barroom on the Twitter account. Every day I try to get out a guy on my top 100 favorite Bears. These aren't the best Bears that I've ever seen play, but guys that I just love as a fan, because I'm an old guy. I've been watching the team play for 50 years, and so I've seen half of their 100 years, and so I can go back and tell you a little bit about Brian Piccolo, because I actually saw him play a little bit, and so start your list, because you'll be probably around for the 150th anniversary, and you can share it with all your followers on Twitter, and we're going to get you a lot more followers too after this show, Carolina.
Whoa! Okay, I can't wait. Let's see what happens. They ain't ready for me either, so we'll see what happens.
She's fitting right in at the bar room.
Yeah, she's made for the bar room. No doubt about it. Hey, I thought it would be cool for us to talk about 2018. It is kind of the foundation for what's going on in year 2019, and so I've asked the two of you to put together a list of your favorite moments from 2018 and tell us why it's a favorite moment. And so, Carolina, we flipped a coin as to who would go first. Carolina won the coin toss, and she's deferred to Shayne. So, Shayne, you're going to go first. Tell me, we're going to go 3, 2, 1. So, tell me who is number 3 on your list, Shayne?
Number 3 on my list is head coach Matt Nagy. So that tells you how good this list is, Aldo. We after they launched Lovey, and we thought we had the offensive guru, the guy that was a little bit crazy from where was he? In Montreal Alouettes? Tressman, is that where he came from?
That's where he came from, yep.
Yeah, but it's you've heard me for years talk about the Bears and all that whole moniker and that whole played out phrase. It was time for a new direction, a forward thinking offensive mind. It wasn't going to be, as much as I loved Brian Urlacher, like Carolina was talking about, it's time for the Chicago Bears to be led. The face of the franchise has got to be a quarterback. It's 2008 or 18, what we're talking about. It's time. Mitch is that guy. And Nagy came in, he was that forward thinking guy. And let's be honest, he's the quarterback coach. He's the 1A to Mitch's number 1. He's the guy that's going to be around Mitch 24/7, 365. And as Chicago Bears fans, we're not used to that. Thought we had it in Cutler, but he never had that offensive guy next to him that could, spoon feed him and nurture him and bring him along and take us to where we wanted to go. To me, Matt Nagy is that guy. Aldo, I made the comment back when we drafted Mitch. I felt like the franchise was shifting, and every year since, right now I feel like that the boat it's pointed to Miami. Now we just got to get there. We can't hit an iceberg or a shoal or anything like that. But Matt Nagy, Swaggy Nagy, he brings the whole thing. He's changing everything. The boom, the club dub, everything. That's so anti-Chicago Bear, and I fucking love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's everybody has bought in, and that's I really can't say anymore. It gets me so hype as a Bears fan because we're not used to that. We're used to the curmudgeon that doesn't want to talk to the media, and he's out there. He's talking to the media and joking, and he's still a young guy, so he's bought into all of this, young forward thinking, and it's a beautiful thing. So Matt Nagy is number 3 on my list.
Carolina, what do you think about Shayne's pick for number 3?
I think that's a really good pick. I honestly agree with him. I love the fact that I feel like before Coach Nagy, just in general, Bears fans, just the Bears organization was a total Debbie Downer. I feel like there was a low morale all across the board. So the fact that Coach Nagy came in, won Coach of the Year, implemented Club Dub, and you just see a big, huge turnaround when it comes to the team and a lot of positive energy. I'm really excited about that, so I think that's a great pick.
You know, there's something about the Chicago Bears organization that I think they get a bad rap for. When they hired Mark Trestman, they were trying something innovative. They were trying something cutting edge. Trestman was a quarterback, offensive-minded coach, and they really wanted to change the Chicago Bears to the 21st century offense. And in his first year, you know, we saw, like you were saying, Carolina, you know, about Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. You know, those guys comprise an incredible offense along with Matt Forte and Martellus Bennett. Unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable because what they did not know about Mark Trestman is that Mark Trestman was not a leader of men, and that he could not win over the defense. You know, in fact, the guy that I put up on my Bears Barroom account on Twitter for my favorite player was Lance Briggs, and Lance is a perfect example. Trestman could not win over Lance Briggs. He was the veteran of that defense. He was supposed to take over for Brian Urlacher. What does he do? He misses the first day of practice because he's got to open up a restaurant in San Francisco. That's a smack in the face to his new coach. Sure is. And so Matt, you know, then the organization makes a mistake and says, well, maybe we need to go with a tried and true old-fashioned NFL coach. Let's go back to the basics. And so they bring in, like our friend Jose Cotto says, guy that sounds like he smoked a pack of Newports or ate a pack of Newports. And, you know, and he was just backward thinking. He was not in tune with the times. And then as Shayne properly mentions, we finally bring in a coach who is innovative, who can connect with today's player. And I love that pick, Shayne. It's a tremendous pick. That's number 3. Let's go now to Carolina and get her number 3 pick.
Okay, so my number 3 pick is Mitch Trubisky's performance versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes!
Now, before you rag on me because it was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I need you to hear me out, okay?
Okay.
He threw 6 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. 5 of those touchdowns were in the first half. And he got the Bears single game record for passing touchdowns. He didn't throw any touchdowns the week before against the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people obviously question the development of Mitch Trubisky since he's been with the Bears. A lot of people like to clown on him. They like to call him Mitch Trubisky or Mitch Trubisky.
I've never heard
and yet, even though you never heard of that?
No.
Okay. Well, I hear it all the time. Oh. And even though he played, even though he played an amazing game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they aren't necessarily the greatest team in the NFL, it did ease a lot of people's minds and let a lot of people like me who watched the Chicago Bears and who may have questioned Mitch Trubisky, it let us know that he's getting comfortable in Matt Nagy's system. He's able to run pass options. He does simple 2-man concepts. He does some backfield trickery. And I think this performance in this particular game let a lot of people know that Mitch can be a solid performer. And his development is honestly something that I'm really looking forward to.
That is a great pick. Shayne, your thoughts on what Carolina just shared with us?
I love it. And somebody on this recording was at that game, Aldo. You have any idea who it was?
It was indeed me, and it was one of my all-time highlights as a Chicago Bears fan, and I'll tell you why really quickly. Not only because of Mitch's performance, and it showed me, because frankly, I went through my doubts about Mitch Trubisky. You know, Carolina.
You did? You did? Are you sure? This is a good spot to drop in that video that you made.
Okay, I will do that. I will drop in the video right here in post-production. Carolina, I went through a rant on Mitch Trubisky and that I thought that Ryan Pace made a mistake in trading up to get Mitch Trubisky. In my opinion, he was the 3rd or 4th ranked quarterback of that draft. So I wasn't real happy with it. And his performance was up and down. And I'm just worried that, you know, a guy that you picked 2nd overall in the draft and you move up for him, that I felt that he should have been more polished. Now, of course, you know, logical thinking tells us he played 13 games in college. So that polish is going to take a while to happen in the NFL. Well, I saw it that day with my two eyes there, and standing alongside Draft Dr. Phil, who had worked with the Bears Barroom, and Draft Dr. Phil is one of the most intelligent football analysts, and so he's whispering into my ear, watch what he's going to do here, watch what he's going to do there. I was getting a football education while I was watching the greatest performance in Chicago Bears history by a quarterback statistically. Now, you were right, Carolina, that he did it against the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I think three of their four starting defensive backs were injured for that game, so he was taking advantage of them. But the fact is that he did it. He did
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And so you have to applaud that, and I agree with you. If I were to make a list too, I would have had that at number 3. That's tremendous. Shayne, you got to agree with me, right?
Oh, I totally agree. I wasn't there for the game, but I was sitting here and watching it. And I mean, it got to the point where when he hit number 5, the 5th touchdown, I'm like, oh man, Nagy's got to go for this fucking record. Get him in the, that's all I wanted. I'm like, you got to do it, man. Yep. And I think he wanted to, because at the end, I mean, the game was a blowout, and there was a couple, 3rd and shorts, and Nagy went deep because, I mean, even Josh Bellamy was wide open.
That's right.
on a couple of things, it was just one of those games where he dropped back. I mean, he hit, I think the first touchdown was a Trey Burton down the right sideline. He was pretty much uncovered and dove into the end zone, and it was just, he had a couple shovel passes for a touchdown and just had the whole package. And you saw, I think that is the game right there to kind of set the wheels in motion for the entire team. Not saying that Mitch played perfect all season long, because he did not. It's all part of his maturation process. But I think the team was like, this fucking kid gets it. Yeah. He's got all the tools in his toolbox. If we need to, if this defense is going to have an off game, this kid's got the talent. It's going to take him some time, but we know if he's got to, he can do it. I think that was a galvanizing moment for this entire franchise, not just the team. Right. This entire franchise moving forward, because you started to see the swag come in then with this team. Yep. Like, you know what? It's not just the defense. We got Big Dick Mitch over there now, dropping bombs. So, it's all part of it. And, you talk about Tampa Bay being without, 3 of their 4 defensive backs. That's happened lots in Chicago Bears history.
Yep.
And guys couldn't do it,
right.
So we'll take whatever we can get. If Tom Brady went out there and threw 7 touchdowns, you don't think they're going to talk about him on SportsCenter?
That's right.
Against Tampa? So talk about Mitch too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Carolina, what was your reaction when they drafted Mitch Trubisky, that they traded up for him and they kind of blew everybody's mind on the NFL Network and ESPN when they were doing the live draft coverage? And what was your reaction to them expending all these draft assets, not that many, but some draft assets to move up 1 spot? What was your reaction?
I kind of made a Chrissy Teigen face, and I was just like, what are they doing? But
that's good.
But it really worked out for the best, because you know why? Ryan Pace is honestly a great GM, and if you really look at the way that he picks his players, he's done a phenomenal job picking in late round drafts. Mm-hmm. So I think that I doubted it. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like Ryan Pace has done a phenomenal job making late round draft picks. So for me, it really played out well in the end, because like you guys said before, Mitch Trubisky only played 13 games in college. He's able to be developed. He's in Coach Nagy's system, and he's doing I think for being in the NFL for 2 years, he's not a Patrick Mahomes per se. I know a lot of people say that, but I do think that he's able to be developed into a great quarterback. So I don't think that he's necessarily a bust. And I'm excited to see how he's going to get. I feel like he's going to get even better. So as far as, like I said, I was a little bit cringed at first when they made the pick for Mitch Trubisky, but I think it really played out well in the end, because at the end of the day, this is a team sport. So he's fitting really well, and they're doing a great job all together, clubbed up. So, yeah.
One of the things that Shayne shared at the time of the draft pick is he said, yeah, he's not my favorite quarterback, but what I like about it is that Ryan Pace went up and got his guy. And at the time I was like, yeah, that's true. But now I've come to appreciate that comment even more because that's a sign of a general manager who is saying, hey, I'm bringing it. And if I mess up, I mess up. But this is how I feel, that this guy is my guy, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get him. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. If you're going to go down, you go down fighting with your guys, not somebody else's. You know, you don't. You know, and put it this way. This is the way that you really end up having to look at it. And yeah, Patrick Mahomes was fantastic. They're all different situations. You know, if Patrick Mahomes had John Fox for his first year, I don't think we saw Patrick Mahomes do what he did in year 2.
That's true.
So
he'd be on the bench.
Right. And, you know, if Ryan Pace had sat at number 3 and not moved, and if just say for whatever reason Cleveland went back up and took Mitch, and Mitch was their guy, and Mitch blew up, what would Chicago media be talking about right now? You were right there, Ryan. Why didn't you just throw a 3rd and a 4th to move up? Get your guy. That's all you want. It's all about you want your guy, but it's having conviction. And this is a perfect segue to my number 2, and I'll jump. You want me to jump right into it right here?
Do it, brother.
Let's do it.
Yeah, my number 2 is Ryan Pace. You see I know you're talking about things on the field, but this is part of it. You see the growth of a general manager. And Aldo, we know the bumps in the road that he has had, but we've seen him grow on the job. You know, he could have moved. We sat back and he got, you know, Roquan Smith, and there was all the talk about, was he going to, you know, give up draft picks to move up for possibly Quentin Nelson and all that. But I think you're seeing the maturation of Ryan Pace as the true leader of this franchise that's going to take us to where we want to go. It's not just the on-field product. It's how much have we heard about the new Hallis Hall? These players come in and holy shit. You know, the Hallis Hall campus, and what is it, 160,000 square feet or whatever it is. And it's anti-Chicago Bears. It's not what we're used to. It's about having conviction. It's about, you know what, this team is a top 10 defense, and what happens? We sit back in September 1st, 2018, boom. There's where the fucking boom started. We traded for Khalil Mack. He didn't sit back with a top 10 defense. He went and got a top 2 defender in the NFL, gave up whatever he had to give up, and secured him. And then after that, George and Virginia McCaskey ponied up the $141 million to Khalil Mack. And Aldo, we've seen this time and time again. Jay Cutler was supposed to be the savior. It takes more than just one guy. You know what I mean? The Bears had a top 10 defense pre-Mack. What did they do? They still went to add more firepower. This whole entire offseason, they went out and got Allen Robinson. They went out and paid Taylor Gabriel. They went out and paid Trey Burton. And I think I easily could have put this number 1, but my number 1 moment to me is pretty easy. But the maturation process of Ryan Pace, the forward-thinking guy to go along with your forward-thinking head coach, this is something that Aldo, you've been around longer than I have. This is something that we've never seen from the Chicago Bears, ever. It's a whole different approach. It's spending money on the field. It's reinvesting back into your team. It's reinvesting back into your franchise with the Hallis Hall expansion, with all of this. And I'm telling you, the Chicago Bears caught lightning in a bottle twice. I really feel like that with Matt Nagy and with Ryan Pace. So Ryan Pace, you're my number 2 moment for 2018.
Carolina, I'm going to ask my mom what she thinks about what Shayne just said.
Okay.
Oh, Shayne, it's true. You are the smartest man in the bar room.
That's right, Mama.
Such a turn on.
My mom had a little bit of a hoarse throat that day when she recorded that.
She sounds pretty good for what? What is she, 77?
For 82 years old.
82.
Carolina, what do you think about Shayne picking Ryan Pace as his number 2 great moment?
It's beautiful. It's better than my number 2, I'll tell you that much. I really like his pick for Ryan Pace. My motto right now is, in Pace, I trust. I do not trust Phil Emery. I felt like he was driving us to the ground. With Ryan Pace, I feel like he was underrated. He was ranked last in GMs.
Yeah, I saw that.
The year before, he was ranked last. And then we were supposed to be rebuilding. We weren't even supposed to be a competitive team projected for the next 3 to 4 years. So the fact that he was able to have a great draft class for 2017, he had Eddie Jackson, Tariq Cohen, Trubisky. They all got Pro Bowl nods. Jackson and Cohen made it to the All-Pro team, and they had Khalil Mack, Kyle Fuller. He did really, really well, and he was able to, I guess they ranked him number 15. I think he's better than that personally. But people are starting to recognize, a lot of people doubted his ability when he left the Saints and came over here, but I think he's doing a great job right now. And I really do trust Ryan Pace's vision, and I think every time he makes a decision, it's really, really smart. I'm gonna be honest with you. He makes a lot of smart choices.
Yeah, and Shayne has made this point a few times here at Bears Barroom that, Ryan Pace has gone through his own maturation or learning process. I mean, he was one of the youngest general managers ever when he came in to the Chicago Bears. The first season, he didn't have his scouting team intact. He had to build the organization. He was working with the old management that he had to kind of convince on these new ideas and new approaches. There's stories that he was saddled with John Fox and that it was management and Eddie Arcasey who was helping with the coaching search. Ernie, what did I say? Eddie? Eddie, Ernie, Aaron, whatever. He sucks, whoever he is. And so, so Pace went through this process where we have seen him grow in front of our eyes. And, like Shayne said again, in Miami, when he is holding on to that Lombardi trophy, all of a sudden the perception of Ryan Pace is going to change among the national media, and it's going to be something that we've been preaching here at Bears Barroom for some time now. All right, let's move to number 2 for Carolina Teague.
All right, guys. So my number 2 is very selfish. Okay? My number 2 for favorite Bears moment of 2018 is Chase Daniel's win on Thanksgiving Day.
Ooh, nice.
And I'm only picking this because I personally hate when my favorite team loses on Thanksgiving Day. I don't like when I have my plate of food and I'm getting my turkey and my cranberry sauce and my green beans and my mac and cheese, my tamales, my potatoes, and I'm watching football and we lose. So I was a little bit nervous this Thanksgiving because the Sunday before we played the Minnesota Vikings and we ended up winning that game. So we had a division win and I was happy about that. But I was a little nerve-wracked because we only had 4 days to prepare for the Thanksgiving Day game. And I was like, are we going to make it? Are we not going to make it? And we had our backup quarterback, Chase Daniel. And at the time, a lot of people thought he was better than Mitch Trubisky. And it was questionable and it was in the air. But I felt like they had limited preparation for that day. And I was just happy that they got the win because I personally hate when we lose on a holiday and the entire country is watching. So the fact that we came out with the win on Thanksgiving Day just warms my soul, and that's my number 2 pick.
I love that pick. It's a very personal pick, and I think everybody can relate to that because, hell, that was a game all of us as Bears fans were highly anticipating, and we were worried because all of a sudden, on that Sunday night, Monday, all of a sudden word came through that Mitch Trubisky might not play. We were on pins and needles and thinking, oh, no. Even though Daniels knows that offense so well, but still, you want the guy who has been leading the team the entire season, and I'm totally with you. It could have ruined the entire holiday. That's the first game on Thanksgiving. It could have been awful. That's a great pick, right, Shayne?
Absolutely. That was 3 games in 12 days?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
That's right.
That was that stretch, and I can remember my mother calling me about Thanksgiving dinner to see when we were going to come. And I'm like, well, what time were you talking about? She's like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 o'clock. Does that work for you? And I'm like, yeah, it really doesn't. We play at 1 o'clock. So I said, if we could push that, because I'm the type of guy, I don't want a bunch of people when I'm watching the Bears game.
Same here.
I like to be there. Concentrate. I don't want some asshole being like, oh, Trubisky sucks. Because I'll just end
Bad
up.
vibes.
Yeah, I'll end up fixing a piece of sheetrock in my living room when I throw them through the wall or whatever. But I just want to concentrate on the game, enjoy it, and then like Carolina said, then you go eat an awesome meal with your family and have a good time, and it makes it that much sweeter with a big W. Even though it was Chase Daniels and even Taquan Mizell made a play that game, first career touchdown. So yeah, it was a big deal. I can remember literally. Ela and Riley were in the kitchen, like looking at me, like, "Come on, we gotta go. And I'm like, "It's almost over. Give me 45 more seconds." But and then we were off to dinner. But no, it's a great pick because it was a big game. It was another galvanizing moment for a young team, winning with your backup quarterback on the road, on national TV,
exactly
on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
Heck,
exactly.
And am I remembering correctly? Because the game was pretty much locked up by the third quarter. I mean, didn't we have a safe lead?
No.
No, that's right.
No.
That's right. He had to do some heroics there
Kyle
at the end.
Fuller picked off in the end zone, and then it was still. I thought it was over then, but then it was still up for debate a little bit right there.
Yes.
After, because you never know. Stafford is flawed as a quarterback as he is. He can still string together some big plays, but it just didn't happen, and they did pull it. I mean, club dub on the road with a turkey leg. Come on.
Go.
Yeah. And it was really close. They tied with 6 minutes left. So to me, it was a huge nail biter. And what better way to win than on that day? So I was happy about that.
Great pick, Carolina. Okay, let's move to Shayne's number 1 overall. He says that it's pretty obvious, but I'm actually still wondering what he might be talking about. What is number 1 for you, Shayne?
You're wearing his jersey. He was wearing the same color jersey that night.
That's right.
Week 1 versus Green Bay. Even though we lost, how could you not go crazy watching Mr. Mack?
Yeah.
Mr. Mack comes to Lambeau and eats. I mean, that first half, I wouldn't have given a shit if Ryan Pace had given up 10 first-round draft picks. I had Eagles fans, Miami Dolphins fans, Buffalo Bills fans texting me and calling me, and they're like, bro, how the fuck did Oakland trade this guy to you? And he's just going crazy. And then the pick 6 on top of it. I mean, I have, for a half of football, in my lifetime, I'm 42 years old, I have never seen a more dominant half of football by a single player that had no preparation.
Right.
He was carrying around a fucking Brinks truck full of cash all week long from Chicago, so he had to be tired, And I find myself, even now, if I have some time to spare, I fire up the DVR and I bring that game back up and just I can't watch the second half because it pisses me off so much because Nagy sat down. But that first half by Khalil Mack, I mean, it was everything every single Chicago Bears fan wanted. That we got our holy shit moment in game 1 almost immediately from your franchise defender, and it was just a beautiful thing. And I just think about it talking to you guys right now, and it just gets me so hyped thinking about what's this motherfucker gonna do with a full off season.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with Roquan. It's crazy.
Well,
number 1 by a wide margin for me. Khalil Mack's first half performance versus Green Bay.
And it's related to your number 2 because it's Ryan Pace that made it possible. That's a great pick. I mean, Carolina, the day that it was announced that Khalil Mack was coming to the Chicago Bears, do you remember what you were doing and what your reaction was when you heard about it?
I remember I was at home and everybody started blowing up my phone and just blowing me up on Twitter and on Facebook, and I thought someone died. And
Yeah, the Packers did.
Oh yeah. And everybody's like, oh my God, you guys got Khalil Mack from the Raiders. How did you guys do that? And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
We have a great linebacker now. And I was so happy because I had just bet $35 for Vegas. And I bet on the Chicago Bears to win the division a couple days before that.
Nice.
And I said we were ranked last. So if I won 8 times over. We got Khalil Mack, and I said, honey, I'm getting my money this year. and when we won the division, that was the best $280 that hit my bank account. I was so happy, and I owe it all to Khalil Mack. I feel like just having him, not only is he just a power defensively to the team, he brings leadership. He helps all the other team members around him just play great, and he brings this positive, great energy, great mentality to the defense. And I really, really, really am so happy that we have Khalil Mack. That was the best. Yeah. That was like a Christmas gift. I swear. I was happy.
The other thing about Mack is the intangibles, the leadership that he shows in the locker room, on the practice field, off the field with his charitable efforts. I mean, that's what makes a team. When you have a leader like that who is demonstrating all of the attributes, not only as a football player, but as a human being, that's what it takes to win championships. And hell, if you fall short, I'm not a participation trophy kind of guy, but nonetheless, if you fall short, the fact that you went to battle and you rooted for a team with guys that you love and football players and an organization that you love, it at least soothes the pain a little bit. I mean, I effing cried when Cody Parkey double-doinked. I did a show where I was in tears, and the reason that I'm in tears is because I love this organization. They've won me back. I went through a period of time where I was like, I'll watch the game. I'm always going to watch the game, but it wasn't like I was going to watch it on my VCR a second and third time like I did most of my life,
VCR.
Yeah,
Good
VCR,
Lord.
Exactly. I'm that old.
I want to add one more thing about Khalil Mack.
Sure.
I really like that. That was your number one pick. The one thing that I like about him is when I think of Monsters of the Midway, I feel like he just embodies that phrase. Yep. I feel like everything about him is just heart and soul, just Monster of the Midway, and I feel like he just brought that back to the team. That's what I really love about him.
Me too.
Very nice.
One of the best stories about Khalil Mack, and it just came out recently, or semi-recently, was his very first practice as a Chicago Bear. They were going through some pass rush drills, and Aaron Lynch lined up. He went through his pass rush drill, and he walked back, and Khalil Mack said, "Big dog, that's not how we do it. We run here. We run back after every single rep. That's how we do it here."
Yep.
It was the guy's first practice. Like I said, that all that money, that shit, this guy wants to fucking win. And it's just Aldo. That was one of our. We went live immediately, unscripted, and that was one of our most downloaded and listened to shows. Yeah. I mean, the entire fan base was ignited. Everybody's heard me tell the story here. I was in a bakery, and a New York Jets fan is like, "Yo, you guys just got Mack," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You guys just got Khalil Mack," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like I said, I don't even think I brought the fucking bread home. I just got my truck and drove home because I'm like, we're going live. We got Mack. Couldn't believe it. It's just still to this day I think about it and I'm like, oh my god, it's just awesome.
I had the attitude that, hey, it's not going to happen. It's just the Bears. I love my Bears, but they're not going to.
You and Mike North, exactly. That's recorded history.
Yeah, us old guys who have lived through disappointment after disappointment, we carry that stigma of the Bears disappointing us when it comes down to making the big trade, making the big free agent signing and so forth. And so we've lived with that for so long. But I get it now. This is a totally new organization. They're going to do things things differently, and I applaud that because that's the way it should be done. You gotta go with the times. You can't do it the way you did 10, 20, 30 years ago because that worked back then, but it probably won't work now, at least, with a lot of aspects of football and life too. So, all right, I'm anxious to hear what Carolina has got for number one. Let me play a little background music for her, and you take it away.
Alrighty, you guys. My number one pick, best Chicago Bears moment of 2018. I think you guys are going to really love this one. I think the listeners are going to really love this one. I think your fans are going to really love this one. I am a personal huge fan of irony. I love karma. I love irony. I love all that stuff. So in week 1, we were winning the game. First half, we dominated. And then all of a sudden, we're watching Monday Night Football. I'm excited. I'm at the edge of my seat. We're winning the game. And then Aaron Rodgers comes back with the biggest fourth quarter comeback, overcomes a 17-point deficit, and we lose week 1. I felt like my heart dropped that day, and I was really, really heartbroken. And I was just like, 17 points? We lost 17 points? And all my Packers friends were hitting me up. They were talking crap to me. They were just like, oh, y'all still suck. And I had to eat that. I had to eat that for a very long time. And then it was week 15.
I like where she's going.
and then, I love it. And then week 15 came around. And it was our turn. We dominated. We had a positive energy. We were winning. We were confident. And for some reason, it was all over ESPN. It was all over the news that this was the game that the Packers had to win in order to still have an opportunity to be in the playoffs.
That's right.
And I just found it very ironic that we beat the Green Bay Packers, shutting them out of any playoff opportunity that year, week 15. And guess how many points we held them to, you guys? Does anybody want to take a crack at it?
Oh, go ahead, Shayne. You know it.
I know what it is. Do you know, Aldo?
I'm too drunk to remember.
Well, I'll answer that for you. We held them to no more than 17 points, you guys. So the irony that they came back from a 17-point deficit, and then we held them to 17 points, shutting them out of any playoff hopes, just warms my heart. That's my number one pick.
Very well done. I'm giving you an A+ for that. Turn that term paper in. I'm going to put it up on the board so all the other students can take a look at it. Very well done.
Aaron Rodgers' family voted for the same one. That's their number one.
Carolina, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers? Do you, are you concerned at the fact that this guy, doesn't talk to his family? He has weird relationships with his fellow players, or do you think that's all blown out of proportion? He's just a regular old quarterback who has outstanding skills.
I think he's a great quarterback. I think he has outstanding skills. I would be foolish to not think that. I don't think anybody is. Some people, like in the basketball world too, like some people are just not people persons, but they're very, very talented. With that being said, I think that the Green Bay Packers are doing a disservice to his greatness. I just feel like he could have done a lot more. I just feel like the people around him, as far as the organization is concerned, they've been to the playoffs several times, but I feel like he hasn't gotten enough opportunities to win a Super Bowl ring as much as Tom Brady has. Tom Brady has Bill Belichick and a great offensive line to go with it, and I feel like the Green Bay Packers organization kind of did him a disservice, to be honest with you. Nonetheless, he's still, I think, a great quarterback. Yeah, that's how I feel about him.
Isn't that what happens when you're fucking Danica Patrick? Not going to win Super Bowls?
Yeah, I don't know. But I just feel like, I think he's a great quarterback, but I feel like there's a disservice to him in that aspect.
I gotta tell you, Carolina, there is somebody.
And it doesn't bother me, by the way. It doesn't bother. I really don't care. But
good. There is somebody here at the bar room who really loves Aaron Rodgers. This is what he always says about him.
I would be willing to suck Aaron Rodgers' dick.
That's true.
That's him. That's not us. That's not Shayne and me. That
was the guy that did your intro, Carolina.
Wow, great.
He's a big Aaron Rodgers fan.
But he's such a smug fuck. You know what I mean? That's the fucking discount double check. You know, if I'm Khalil Mack, I'm folding that fucker in half, and I'm standing right over top of him, and I'm doing that discount double check. Right there. This is the new Chicago Bears. Fuck you, Aaron. You and your mommy issues. You know, whatever. Fuck that. I don't even like looking at that dude. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. He got his, and he's got more coming in week 1 this year too.
Sure does. He sure does.
I agree. He's not ready for us. I don't know. He is not ready for us. I feel like he's an injury away from going into oblivion.
His body has taken, it's well put. His body has taken a beating, because of his style of holding on to the ball as long as possible. I mean, I see all these metrics about how the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers holds blockers for such a long time. That's bullshit. That's because Aaron Rodgers is running around for his life holding on to the ball. And if you talk to Green Bay Packers fans, which I have done more than I would really like to, they will tell you that one of the complaints that is all throughout Wisconsin is that Rodgers holds on to the ball too long and that he needs to get rid of it and stuff. But he has been successful at elongating certain plays and allowing receivers to get open. But because of that, he has suffered a lot of injuries, and we'll see what happens. All right, I want to shift gears here. There was a segment on NFL Total Access on the NFL Network show where they were talking about the Chicago Bears defense, and they pointed out that the Bears last year were first in points per game allowed, first in takeaways, first in yards, rushing yards allowed per game, first in rushing touchdowns allowed. They only allowed 5 touchdowns. They were first in big plays allowed. This defense just statistically was astronomical. We saw it game in and game out, but the numbers also belie what we saw. So they started talking about the responsibility that Chuck Pagano now has, that because Vic Fangio has left as defensive coordinator, the responsibility that Pagano now has to lead this defense. And so Jim Trotter and then Reggie Wayne comment on Pagano. I want you to hear it, and then on the other side we'll talk about it.
Look, I know people get caught up in the numbers that we just saw there, but for me, when you're around a team, you get a vibe about them, about a unit. And with this group, you got the sense that they no longer hope they can be what they talk about. They know they can be what they talk about. They have done it. And so they are eager to get back out on the field. Remember, they have 10 starters returning. The one guy who isn't is being replaced by Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix, a veteran safety. So they feel good about their unit here. The one question, obviously, is Chuck Pagano. New defensive coordinator, but he is respected. When you talk to guys in that locker room, what they say is they like him because, one, there's a lot more talk in that meeting room with Chuck.
You say that with a chuckle.
Exactly. Vic, Vic's the old quiet curmudgeon, so to speak, in some ways. Chuck will tell you life stories that relate to football, and these guys, I'm sure Reggie can relate to this.
I can tell you he likes to talk. He really does. And speaking of talking, I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago, right? And he stepped in and told me, I said, man, what do you think about that defense? He said, baby, I'm going in there with house money. I'm putting it all on the table. I'm letting it all ride. These guys are that good. Vic Fangio, he set the bar so high, so he's got to put everything out there.
Great talk on the NFL Network about the Chicago Bears. That segment is actually longer. You can find it on their Twitter account or head over to Bears Barroom on Twitter. I'm going to retweet it so you can see that entire 5, 6, 7 minute segment. Shayne, what are your thoughts about what the guy said?
I love the part about I'm playing with house money. I'm ready to put $35 up on this bitch.
Nice.
No, all the talk about Pagano and coming from Fangio, and it drives me crazy because, Aldo, who's the defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots?
Oh, who is it now?
Exactly. That point. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Romeo Cornell? I don't know.
No, but the Bears players haven't changed.
Right.
The only thing that's going to be different is Pagano's coming in here with a more aggressive mentality.
Right.
Young players like that. You know, will they probably have a propensity to give up one or two, bigger plays because of that? Yeah, absolutely. But I think you're going to see a lot more bigger play. You can't beat an aggressive defensive coordinator. That's one thing is, my thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles. I hate everything about them, but you still have to respect them. Oh, yeah. Jim Schwartz comes in there, and the fucker is just like Jimmy Johnson was when he was the DC there in Philly. He's relentless. He's going to attack, and then attack, and attack. Throw it in waves. That's exactly what I'm hoping Chuck Pagano comes here and does. Vic, the only thing that drove me nuts, and now that we talked about this, how are you going out and getting Khalil Mack and ever dropping that guy into coverage? Mm-hmm. Maybe once, maybe twice, but that's two chances that you're taking away from a game-altering play, from strip fumble, just anything. That drove me nuts. The vanilla aspect of it, just to sip. Now it worked, but did it work because of Vic's system? Probably part of it, but the fucking Bears have very talented players, and that is not changing. You got Roquan Smith. That's going to take year 1 to year 2 is always the biggest jump.
Right.
He's got a full off season. Khalil Mack, same way. Didn't have a training camp. You got a healthy off season for Leonard Floyd, the guy that we've all been waiting for. Played well, needs to play better. He's got to get up to that double-digit sack range. Because we talked about it on Twitter. Everything is setting up perfectly for him. I think Chuck Pagano is that guy to bring that, aggressive mentality here. It just drives me crazy because you see, like, the San Francisco 49ers getting so much love because Jimmy Garoppolo's back and everything like that. You know how many interceptions the San Francisco 49ers defense had as a team in 2018?
I think that, I was going to say that they were close
interceptions.
to zero, right?
Chicago had 27. Was that because of Vic Fangio?
No, that was because of the roster.
It's kind of important to have good players. Vic, he's a great guy. Absolutely, it's a loss. Continuity, you can't. It's a great thing, but I think the people are just looking for something to tear this team down about, because if on the defensive side, what are you going to point to? That's it. Right. They're not talking about a player. They're talking about a fucking defensive coordinator. Yeah. Oh, come on. Teams change D coordinators all the time. Well, the players remain.
And Brad Biggs in the Chicago Tribune said this in his recent mailbag, that the national media, they're skeptical of the Bears because they have recently not had sustained success. And so they're sort of like, you got to prove it to me, But what I hate about that is they're not doing fair projections, huh? Like what you're talking about these guys, being together and moving forward and building on the success of 2018. So, yeah.
Right. You got to start someplace. You have to have a year 1 before you get to a year 2. Mm-hmm. We'll see how it is. I would be, and this isn't a fanboy in me coming out, I would be absolutely floored if the Chicago Bears defense took a step back. I mean, you have candy asses like Dan Weeder and Rich Campbell that are coming out and saying that it may take this team until November to gel on defense. Are you fucking kidding me? It's a defense. That's one of the first units that can gel on a team. It's not like playing offense. It's Khalil, go get the fucking quarterback. That's just, that's setting the tone. Eddie, go take the ball away. It's not fucking rocket science. It's a mentality. Chuck Pagano is going to come in here with an aggressive mentality. You heard it, Aldo. If you went to college, you went to high school, did you like a teacher that just sat there and only did the minimum amount and never said a fucking thing to you? No, you wanted to be inspired. You wanted to have somebody that could get their point across and talk to you and bring this team even closer together. And I think Chuck Pagano is that guy. I love the aggressive nature, and fuck these guys. They're looking for something to tear this defense down because they can't complain about the players. Oh, we don't have a backup safety? Is that where we're going to go next? You know, maybe our fifth inside linebacker is not the greatest. Is that where we're going? You know, backup nose tackle? No, we're going to go to the defensive coordinator.
Carolina, what do you think about Shayne's passion for the Chicago Bears right now? Do you hear his passion when he talks about the Bears?
No, that's what we need. We need somebody to talk about the passion that we have. I feel like these freaking bozos that go around and they talk about they don't believe in our defense this year all because of one switch of a defensive coordinator. To me, that is ridiculous. Do you not see the talent and the power that we have in our defense? Are you kidding me, bro? Like, to me, that's just bananas. So I understand the passion. I definitely do. Yeah. Definitely.
And what's your guess right now, Carolina, on what the Bears defense is going to do in 2019? Do you expect statistically for them to have the same kind of numbers that the NFL Network pointed out, or do you think there might be a drop-off? Do you think it could be potentially better? And, what just your general thoughts?
I don't think there's going to be a drop-off per se, but I do think that there's going to be changes. I think that the changes are going to not be positive or negative. I think they're just going to be kind of the same, if anything better, because they're gelling better. They have a lot of the same starters as they did last year. They were a top 3 defense last year as well. I think they're going to be great. And then we've heard this time and time again, Chuck Pagano's system, he's going to try to keep the same thing as Vic Fangio, what he implemented with the Chicago Bears defense, but he's going to make some small changes. So we're going to see a lot more blitzing packages. We're going to see a lot more one-on-ones. So I feel like things are going to transition slightly, but I don't think that anything's going to drop off or they're going to be worse than what they already were. Let's get real for just a second and let's look at the defense that we have. They are the monsters of the Midway for a reason, and they're back. I think they're going to be steamrolling over everybody that they come along this season, and that's facts. Maybe that's the fan in me coming out, but I don't think that they're going to be I don't think the defense is going to have problems this year. I don't think it's going to be terrible. I think that they're going to be just fine, especially when you have Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks. You have Pro Bowlers everywhere. Mm-hmm. You have the positive energy. You have Club Dub. There's just I just feel like you guys said, they want to find a reason to not believe in the Chicago Bears because like I've stated before, we weren't predicted to be doing this well so early after we hired our new coach and our new GM. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was a little bit nervous when Vic Fangio went to the Broncos because I am a dick rider for Vic Fangio, or I was a dick rider for Vic Fangio because he brought the 49ers to the Super Bowl. So as soon as they listed him as our defensive coordinator and we had gotten rid of who was the guy from the Jacksonville Jaguars who was the defensive coordinator?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, whatever his name was, I knew when they named him as our defensive coordinator, I knew we were going to tank. But then when they implemented Vic Fangio, I knew we were... Yeah, Mel Tucker. And when we had obtained Vic Fangio, I knew it was just going to turn around from there because I knew Vic Fangio knows defense, and then he switched our defense around. So I knew right away that he was going to do a great job. So it didn't surprise me that our defense was getting greater and greater with each coming season. So I was a little bit concerned when he went to the Broncos, but he deserves the promotion. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yep.
And when they named Pagano, I did my homework on him. And everybody has nothing but positive things to say about him. And I personally do not like conservative play callers. I like conservative play callers if they do a good job. But if you're conservative and you're garbage, I don't like that. I like the fact that Chuck Pagano is not afraid to take risks and he's aggressive. So just to see that type of defensive coordinator, I think they went in the right direction. I don't think they regressed when they named a new defensive coordinator. I think that they're right where they should be. So I think they're going to be just fine.
I'm with you in terms of conservative play callers, and while Vic Fangio had success with a lot of his conservative approaches to defense, these are the monsters of the midway. We've built a reputation with the blitz. We've built a reputation at harassing quarterbacks and knocking them in the head. And there's the famous picture from the 1963 NFL championship of the New York Giants quarterback on the field in defeat with blood coming down his nose and so forth. Those are the Chicago Bears. They go after you in a vicious, violent way. And we want to see that again from this Chuck Pagano defense. We want to see Khalil Mack going after the quarterback 99% of the time. We want to see blitzes, exotic blitzes. We want teams to be afraid of dropping back to pass. Lord knows that a quarterback is going to think twice about taking that long 7-step drop because they know that the offensive line is incapable of holding down Mack and the rest of the guys, Hicks and so forth. So they're going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. And here's another point I want to make, that a big part of what I'm hoping to see is the improvements in the offense are going to help this defense in ways that are perfect for Pagano's defense. You saw what happened with Mitch Trubisky. His arguably his biggest success was on that first series of every game when it was scripted out. The first 15 plays that Mitch Trubisky has are scripted out, so he's practiced them in practice and so forth, and he's got them memorized, and he pretty much especially in the first 6 games or whatever it was in the season, he had great success. So imagine this. Every time we get a possession to open up the game, that offense is getting 7 points. Now, all of a sudden, that defense is saying, okay, all right, we're going to get after this quarterback because they're going to want to score and they're going to take risks and they're going to pass the ball out and so forth. And all of a sudden, they stop them, and then Trubisky, all of a sudden, it's a 10-0 or 14-0 game. That defense is going to thrive under those situations, and I can't wait to see that. This offense is going to make the defense better, and that's what a lot of the analysts aren't thinking about.
I totally agree with you. I want to make that point as well. I want to add one more thing about being risky. I think the good thing about Chuck Pagano being a risky defensive coordinator is if you're risky with a garbage, talented defense, garbage defense,
right.
You are not, and you take risks, you're not going to do well. There's so much talent on this defense that we can take the risk. And they are smart. They're intelligent. They're strong. They're able to be able to read plays and just go for the gusto and just break ankles. That's it. I'm ready to see everything go down.
Yeah, I think if you see any change in this defense, I think the one number that you might see come down is the interception numbers. 27 last year, but I think you're going to see the sack numbers go up. I mean, that could lead to more interceptions, but I think you're going to see that aggressive mentality come through and sacking the quarterback. I think, Aldo, I put my name on the line. I think you're going to see 15 plus from Khalil Mack this year.
Well,
I really, really do.
That's our next segment, is to do some predictions. So hold on to that thought.
Okay.
Let's get to that segment now, which is I wanted to get some predictions for you, and not only the individual player, but I thought that the way we would do this is let's think of it in terms of combos. I'd like to get your numbers on what do you think the sack total is going to be for both Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd, your two outside linebackers. I'm really interested in this because, I like looking at things from totals and teamwork and so forth. And these guys are going to be probably your two prominent rushers, although Roquan Smith, I think, was third in sacks last season behind Akeem Hicks, who was second, and Khalil Mack first. But let me get your prediction, starting again with Shane, on sacks for Mack and Floyd.
28.5. So
you got Mack for 15, and you're saying
no. I'm gonna say Mack with 17.5.
Okay. Oh, nice. I like that number.
Yeah, I think I definitely see him going 15 plus, just because you have your defensive coordinator coming out and specifically saying we're going to get this guy going this way, not this way. That's what we want. And like I said, you just give him one more opportunity per game to bring down the quarterback. You got another year with Eddie Goldman. You're going to see a guy like Roy Robertson Harris take another step. Bilal Nichols is going to fucking blow up this year. I'm telling you right now. That kid is busting his ass.
Yeah.
It's going to make everybody's life easier. Khalil's going off this year.
Yeah, I agree
He's
with
going
you.
off. 17.5 is where I got him, and I'll say 28.5 is a tandem between him and Leonard.
All right, Carolina, do you have a higher number than that or a lower number than that?
We're gonna play I'm playing the Price is Right now. I'm gonna go a little bit lower.
I love it.
I'm gonna go with 26.
Wah, 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 wah.
Well, I'm just being. I do like the way that you pointed it out. 28.5. That doesn't sound too bad. Now that you're writing it out for me.
There you go.
I picked.
I'm just here to help.
I picked 26 though prior to us getting on the air because I'm thinking Khalil Mack had 12.5 sacks last season, and he had his little ankle injury or whatever.
14 games.
But I feel like the leading Aaron Donald had the leading sacks last year. He had 20. It wouldn't surprise me if Khalil Mack was leading in sacks this year. That's a bold prediction coming from me, but it would not surprise me if he led in sacks. With that being said, I definitely think he's going to get over 15 sacks this year. He dominated despite being, coming to the Bears in week 1 and not really knowing how the defense, works, or he didn't really get to gel with them during the offseason, despite him being triple teamed. So now he has the luxury of training with them in the offseason, and it wouldn't surprise me if he has over 15 sacks for sure. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was the leading defensive leader in sacks. So I definitely think he's going to be making over 15. As far as Leonard Floyd, obviously we've seen a lot of predictions where this is going to be his breakout year as far as sacks are concerned. He only had 4 sacks last season, but with this new system with Pagano, they're going to be offering way more blitz packages, and the outside linebacker coach had recently went to the Chicago Tribune and said that the new schemes that they're implementing is perfect to allow Floyd to pressure the quarterback. So it wouldn't surprise me if he had 10 sacks plus. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going with 26 if they're healthy, but I think it'd probably be more than that.
Well thought out and hard to argue with your number. Now, my follow-up question is about interceptions for the two safeties, Eddie Jackson and Ha Clinton Dix. Now, the more sacks you get, the less interceptions you probably are going to get. So, Shayne, what's your number on interceptions, given that you've got a high of 28.5 for sacks from the dual, outside linebacker duel of Leonard Floyd and Khalil Mack?
I think you're going to see a little bit of a step back, like I mentioned earlier, in the overall interceptions. I mean, 27's a lot. I mean, like I said, San Francisco had 2 as a team. Think about that. Philadelphia is a good defense, and I think they had like 13 or so as a team. But I think a solid number for Eddie. You look at a guy like Ed Reed getting, what'd they say, he like 5 or 6 times in his career he had at least 6 interceptions or something right around there.
Right.
So I'm gonna put Eddie at 5 this year, and I'm gonna put Ha at 4.
Okay.
I don't think they're gonna reach double figures as a tandem, but that's fine. It's just that they're gonna be covering a lot of space back there, and it's gonna let the guys up front do their work. But I think 9 is a real solid number between them. And, health is a huge factor, obviously, but I hate to even fucking say this. I just have this sick feeling that Eddie Jackson's thinking about his contract. And it bothers me. Aldo, I know we've dealt with some stuff here a little bit. I want Eddie to worry about football and not the ancillary bullshit. I mean, the fucker's going to cash in big. We saw the deal Landon Collins got. But this kid has been through a lot, broken leg, Alabama, 4th-round draft pick. He hasn't seen the fuck you money yet that he's about to get.
Right.
And I just hope that Eddie is completely prepared, mind-focused on Miami and week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and not the contract. I hope that's one of my biggest things that I'm thinking about with this team. I just hope he's got the right mindset. So that's why I'm not pushing those. What did he had 7 this past year?
Right.
5 is still an impressive number, but I'm gonna put these guys at 9 as a tandem if I'm gonna make a prediction right now.
Very good. All right, Carolina, let me get your numbers.
I also had 9.
Wow, look at these two.
Hey.
Is that a little bit different? I had Haha at 3,
Yeah.
and I have Eddie Jackson at 6. I think that adds up to 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. 9.
Super good at math. That's why we had you on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you totally. The more sacks you get, the less interceptions you have, and the leading single most player with interceptions last year, I believe, had 8 interceptions. So I was just being a little bit conservative. And for somebody who loves risky shit, I'm totally being conservative today, right? I picked 6 for Eddie Jackson. I think he's still going to be great. I just don't think he's going to make 7 like he did last year. And also, I think Haha is going to be the same. I think he's going to be at 3.
Well, I think that's fair thinking. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is that I don't think we're going to see the sack total numbers that you guys have predicted, because I think offenses are going to try to get rid of the ball quickly, and they're going to try to minimize this pass rush, and so they're not going to give Floyd and Mack that many opportunities to get sacks. And so I think also what's going to happen is they're going to try to throw the ball away from Eddie Jackson, because they know, that he's an incredible ball hawk. But fortunately for the Chicago Bears, Clinton Dix is a pretty good ball hawk too. So we could see a scenario where Clinton Dix gets 6 and Eddie Jackson gets 3 or 5 or whatever it is. Things could be totally flipped, because offenses they're worried about this Bears defense. They're worried about the talent and so forth. And so it kind of gets back to Chuck Pagano. He's got to come up with the exotic packages. He's got to disguise coverages and so forth so that they can outsmart the offense, because the offense right now, all of these offensive coordinators from the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, and every other team that the Bears are facing, they are scheming for how to stay away from Mack, how to stay away from Eddie Jackson and so forth. And that's going to bring great opportunities to Leonard Floyd and Clinton Dix. So it's going to be interesting. But I love your numbers, and I love the fact that, and I love the thinking behind the numbers. Let's move on now to the other side of the ball, the offense. I'm interested, because it looks like we're going to have a running back by committee, right? We're going to have David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, and Mike Davis as the 3 top running backs, unless something happens dramatically with some of the other. The team has excellent depth at running back, but let's say that it's going to be those 3, and I'm interested in finding out from you guys what kind of numbers as a trio these guys are going to put together. Shayne, we'll again start with you.
I forget who it was we were talking to on Twitter. It might have been Berlissimo, maybe, that made the comment that he didn't expect to have any 1,000-yard rushers for the Bears this year.
I think that was George, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to. I think David Montgomery is going to be that guy. Doesn't mean that he's going to go pop off for 1,500 plus, but I think he's going to be your workhorse back and be your guy. I think you're going to see the same role that Cohen had. I just think you're going to see the upgrade with Mike Davis from a Benny Cunningham. You even saw in a Taquan Mizell, you still saw these guys getting legitimate reps. Carolina brought up the Detroit game. Mizell was in there, he caught a touchdown pass. You know what I mean? And he's a wide receiver now. But I think, do you have the totals that they rushed for last year? Did they hit 2,000 yards?
I don't, but I can look it up.
Yeah, because I know obviously they must have with Mitch running, but I mean, I'm not really worried about him. I'm just talking about the 3-headed monster there. Right. But I think you're gonna see David Montgomery come in here and push for the rookie rushing record for the Chicago Bears with Matt Forte. Matt Forte took that over, 1,250. I can see that. Kareem Hunt came in KC with firepower all over the place and led the league in rushing, and that still is going to let Tariq Cohen and Mike Davis eat because, they're going to want to run the football.
Right.
I think they're right around 2,000 yards, weren't they?
1938, Shane. You were close with 2,000.
Yes, I knew it was right around 2,000, but I think you're going to see a fantastic rookie campaign from David Montgomery. this kid, I just don't see the upside in taking this kid. If he's everything that we expect him to be, I don't see the benefit. I know you got to give him some rest, but this kid's going to be on the field all the time.
Yeah.
Tariq Cohen's going to be on the field all the time, and then you can come in with your third down packages and stuff like that, and mix in Mike Davis if there's an injury or whatnot. But I think that's a solid number. I'll put him a little bit over. You said 19, almost 2,000. I'll put him at 2,250.
Okay.
As a team,
Got
I'm going to see a little bit of bump in that because I think you're going to see the growth from the offense and the passing game that they're going to have to honor, and I think that's going to open up some more running lanes for these running backs.
All right, Carolina, you're a betting young lady, so what do you think?
I'm going to go with total for all three of those guys, the three-headed monsters of the Midway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with 2,300.
2,300. I like it. Whoa.
I'm gonna go for the gusto. I feel like they're gonna be hard to get a hold of, only because at Iowa State, David Montgomery had 2 consecutive years of over 1,100 yards. He's huge. He has a lean body, and he averages 4.7 yards per carry. He's a great complement to Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen, I think he's easily going to get over 1,000 yards as well because he does the pass and the run. He gets a lot of tackles. He reminds me of a young Darren Sproles. I just think that he's a great they complement each other really well. And then if they're healthy, obviously, I think they're going to be at 2,300. And then you have Davis, who is good off the bench. He's able to warm up really quickly. He has the same kind of power that David Montgomery has too. So I think that all three of them together, if they are healthy and they perform really well, I think they're going to mesh well with the system, and they're going to be utilized a lot more this season. I think that in Matt Nagy's scheme, they could easily get over 2,300. That's an aggressive call
that is
right
an
there.
aggressive number. And I want to go back to the 2017 season with the Kansas City Chiefs, where Kareem Hunt, who a lot of people are comparing David Montgomery to, he had 1,327 rushing yards in his rookie season. And a lot of people are saying that David Montgomery could potentially have that. But as a team, and again, Matt Nagy was the quarterback coach at that time with this team, it was a total of 1,903 yards. So they backup running backs to Kareem Hunt that year were, let's see who we got. We got Alex Smith actually had 355 yards rushing to that, so that accounted for a big part of that 1903. Kendrick West had 72 yards. Tariq Hill 59-40. So after really a Kareem Hunt as a running back, then you have nearly the depth that that the Chicago Bears have. So
and we can't forget about one of our wild cards, the Trojan, in this offense.
Mr. Cordell Patterson, absolutely.
Patterson's going to be a factor in this. You're going to have to – these overall numbers, that just like you said, that's including the quarterback. Mitch can scoop. Patterson's going to add to those too. There's going to be all those plays. That's all going to add up. I think that's a real solid prediction, 2,000 plus. I was at 2,250. Carolina was at 2,300. Right around there. It's a lofty goal, but I think you're going to see that year 2 in the Matt Nagy offense. Let's be honest. These guys are going to run the football, but Matt Nagy likes to chuck the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And you have some horses in the backfield. I think we're going to see a different running game this year, a different offense, just for the simple fact it was obvious, as much as we love Jordan Howard here, Matt Nagy was never comfortable with the guy. Obviously, He ran him a lot, but he wasn't comfortable. You talk about Mitch and Aldo. You talked about him being in the first year of the offense. Hogan Johns talked about it, and it's a great point, and I never thought about it from their perspective. Mitch last year was thinking about his offense because he was learning it. Now he's in 202. He knows his offense. So now when he approaches the line of scrimmage, he's not thinking about his offense. He's thinking about the defense across from him. That's a huge deal. He's not thinking about what he has to do. Remember what we were talking about? One of the flaws with Mitch, reading the defense. Now that's all he's going to be focused on. Yep. He knows his offense. It's just going to open up running lanes. It's going to open up the pass, and I think the Bears are well on their way. David Montgomery I think he's in for one of the best rookie campaigns we've ever seen in Chicago from a running back.
Yeah, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this season.
All right, so let's move to our next prediction category that I asked you guys to think about, which is, do you think that there's going to be a fourth running back on this roster? I named the three that are likely to be on the roster. I mean, it's hard to argue with Mike Davis and David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. Will they keep a fourth running back? And I bring this up because I had a discussion with Sean Sierra on his radio show. And, he and I were debating between Ryan Nall and Kareth White, the seventh-round draft pick. I think Ryan Nall offers something that the team really doesn't have, which is the big 240-pound type running back, for power yards when necessary. And probably with him being in the practice squad for a year, he can play the special teams role a little bit better. Kareth White, who, Shayne, I know you're super excited about him and what he offers with speed and so forth. I'm excited about him too. But I think they might stash him. And so if the team keeps four running backs, I'm kind of leaning towards Ryan Nall. So I'd like to your guys' take on whether they're going to keep four running backs, and if so, who could it be? Shayne, why don't you begin?
Kareth White's making this team. He's making the 53. I'm telling you right now, you talk about players that fans fall in love with in the preseason. You wait till you see this kid. I'm telling you, this kid is going to be a return man. He's going to play on special teams, and he's going to make tackles for you. This kid is making the team. I love Ryan Nall. I do. I don't know. Did you see that? I think Barlissimo again sent out that picture of his vertical jump.
Yes.
He got his elbow to 10 feet on his extended arm.
That's pretty amazing.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't. Kareth White's making this fucking roster. He's making the 53. Ryan Nall still has practice squad eligibility. I think he's gonna, and who knows what happens. I mean, injuries happen, so it's going to be a long training camp. Trades happen. Kareth White's making this team. He's too explosive. He's got You're not going to. You can't stash 4-3 guys that can catch the football and that can run the football and return the football. It's hard to stash those guys. I mean, Charlie Weiss was talking about him. Charlie Weiss's son is the offensive coordinator at FAU. Charlie Weiss was talking about Devin Singletary, and he's like, I'm telling you right now, don't sleep on this kid. This was pre-draft.
Right.
Don't sleep on this kid from FAU. And everybody's like, oh, we already know about Devin Singletary. He's like, no, I'm talking about his backup. I'm talking about Kareth White. That's the only thing that kept this kid down, is that he had Devin Singletary ahead of him. Mm-hmm. He's electric. 4.37 40 out of a running back with size. This kid's making the team. They're taking four. They're taking four running backs. I mean, listen, if Taquan Mizell can get reps as a running back, and Benny Cunningham can, and Benny Cunningham, I mean, do you remember the pass that he caught from Pat O'Donnell?
Right.
I mean, they timed him with a sundial, I think, getting to the end zone that night. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are built around explosive athletes that can dictate coverage, dictate games with their attributes. Kareth White is that guy. Ryan Nall, we've seen him shine in a fourth preseason game. We just don't know. His ability to make this roster is going to be if he can be an H-back and show versatility there. If he can block, if he can flex out, catch passes, and he can run the football in a very limited fashion and be productive doing that with 1, 2, maybe 3 carries, and it's going to be interesting to see. But his biggest calling card is that he's going to still have practice squad eligibility. I think, and I know we've said this about other players in the past, I don't think there's any way in hell you could stash a guy like Kareth White on your practice squad with those attributes. There's just too many teams looking for explosion like that.
Well, the one counter to that I will offer is that, well, actually two, is that he did last to the 7th round for a reason, and so if teams really wanted him, they would have drafted him in the 7th round before the Bears picked, or the 6th round, or the 5th round. And then the other thing is that one of the things that I've learned over the years about 7th round draft picks and your ability to stash them is because other teams fall in love with their own players, and they get into that cut down time, and they're like, wow, I really love this guy. Let's see if we can get him through waivers and stash him and so forth. We see a lot of that throughout the 31 other teams, and so there was huge talk last season about Javon Wims potentially, not making it through waivers. The year before that, Tanner Gentry not making it through waivers. And so every year there's concern about somebody making it through waivers. I think Kareth White could potentially make it through waivers, and that you go with the more experienced running back Ryan Nall, a guy that you really don't have on the roster who can deliver the type of play that Nall can deliver. But ultimately, what this gets down to is who's going to tackle best in camp, right? Because these guys are going to play special teams up the ass.
My counter to that, Aldo, would be is if the Bears were completely happy with Ryan Nall. Why would you draft a second running back in the same draft at all?
BPA, best player available. Yep. I mean, you got a team that's loaded at wide receiver, and then you draft Riley Ridley. So I don't think, with Ryan Pace, I don't think it matters who's on the roster already. They really are devoted to their board. So that's why I think they decided it wasn't a position they were grabbing at. It was just the best player.
My biggest thing comes down to what I'm seeing. I believe in this kid.
Yeah, I believe in him too.
I talked to you guys about him before, pre-draft. I believe in this kid, and I'll go as far to say that I'm not going to be surprised if Mike Davis is one and done on this team.
I agree with that.
For that simple reason, because of White and a guy like Ryan Nall. So it's going to be fun to see. I know I'm probably right and you're probably wrong, but we'll see.
Did you hear what he said, Carolina? He said that he's probably right, I'm probably wrong. I think Carolina's going to decide the argument here.
So much pressure. Man, I hate being in crossfires, but I think I'm going to be... man, you guys are going to hate me for this one. I had a very vanilla answer, so now I got to make a tough decision. My vanilla answer for this question was it's not even the preseason yet. We don't know who's going to be injured. We don't know if there's going to be any trades. So who's to say that we're going to need an additional person as a running back? Anything could happen. People get injured. And I really like the three-headed monster that we got going on right now. Hence why I predicted that we had 2,300 yards between all three of them. But if something happens, and God forbid it does not happen, I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to Shayne. The reason why is because I think that Kareth White, he is explosive. He does. When you look at the factor, he does have long speed. He does have acceleration. I feel like he is a threat running outside zones, and he's explosive when it comes to being upfield. Now, the way that he fits with the Bears, to me, it seems like he could do kick return duties, and also he can be on the special teams as well. And when it comes to certain things on offense, I think that he could make a couple of explosive plays from the offensive perspective as well. So if something were to happen, I'm going to go ahead and go with White. But like I said, my answer is very vanilla. I'm happy with the three-headed monster that we have right now for our running backs.
There she goes.
Team Marsaw, woohoo!
There she goes, being conservative again. The risk taker, Carolina, being conservative.
The most conservative person who likes aggressive people. Yes, that's me.
All right. It seems like every show we're talking about the kicking situation, and I never thought in my life we'd be talking about kicking so much. But it's obviously Cody Parkey has underscored the fact that this is a critical position, particularly for a team that is going to be making a playoff run. And we've learned, what the Patriots have done with their good kickers over the years, Steven Koskowski and before him, Adam Vinatieri. So they're trying to rectify the kicking problem at Hallis Hall. And one of the things that Matt Nagy has done is that he has said, hey, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the fact that we failed because of the kick, and we're not going to be shy about it. And so in between highlights of their camp, when all of a sudden they're looking at blocking schemes, and all of a sudden, boom, he edits in the highlight of Cody Parkey missing the 43-yard field goal, infamously called the double-doink. And so I want to get your opinions. I'm going to start with you, Caroline. I know you deferred to Shayne, but I got to get your point of view on this first. You think that Matt Nagy is torturing the Bears by showing these highlights, or you think that this is good strategy to show the guys, we got to do better?
Hell no. I think he's doing the right thing. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
This is what great coaches do. They rub your failures in your face. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit because, I'm from Texas. So I got to bring up some Texas things real quick. I know that's not your style. But when and I'm going to go to basketball too. Greg Popovich, arguably one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time, when he lost to the Miami Heat in the NBA playoffs, in the finals, he was obsessed with how they lost. He would play it over and over again, that film. I mean, they didn't announce it, but it was obvious that that's what they did. In his mind, he was playing the loss of that series over and over again. And what he did was he came up with a solution to do, more passing, and they just developed this great scheme, and they ended up winning the championship next year because he drilled their failure into their head, essentially. And I feel like that's what Coach Nagy is doing. He's playing that double doink. Ugh, I hate saying that.
I know, right?
He's playing the footage of the double doink over and over again because he's trying to drill it into the team's head. They made a lot of mistakes that game. If you don't remember, I feel like they made a lot of mistakes that game.
Sure.
And you don't get to the point where you have to rely on your kicker to win the game. You want to be so far ahead and you want to be flawless in your performance that you do not make these mistakes and fail again. So I think the fact that they're a stronger team this year and they potentially are going to be first in the division and have another chance in the playoffs, to remind them of that moment will drill it into their head to have a flawless performance throughout the entire game. So that way it does not boil down to one person's kick. That's why I think it's a great idea. And I really don't think that it's bad that he's doing that at all.
Wow, she's got that Chicago fire, even though she's from Texas, where things are, I guess things are hot in Texas, so I can see why you bring that fire. Shayne, your thoughts on this topic?
Play that shit every day. I talked about these guys should have listened to me back, in April of 2018. When I told him not to sign Cody Parkey. You knew that I had a problem with him from the get-go, Aldo.
That's very true.
I think it's vitally important. I compare it to raising my son. I'm not going to tell him something once and expect them to just say, okay, Dad, I remembered what you said to me 6 months ago. Oh, I'm going to reinforce it. If you do something wrong, we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to tell you on Monday, then I'm going to tell you on Tuesday, until I know for a fact that you're not going to. These guys, I think listen, these guys are professional athletes that have a pocket full of money. They have a zillion things that can take their focus off of what it needs to be on. That feeling that every one of us here on this panel experienced, those guys experienced, and it was amplified times 10. I felt sick to my fucking stomach.
I was depressed for 3 days.
Me too. And it's just these players, you don't want them to just push that to the wayside. Let that be something that takes you through the dog days of training camp. But that we're not gonna. It's just like Carolina said. It's not gonna come down to a field goal. I'm gonna make that extra play. We talked about Golden Tate. Thought that was a fucking running play on that 4th down. They scored a touchdown. It's a game of inches. Don't let it come down to that. It's just I think it's great that he's banging them over the head. I don't want these guys to forget about it. Keep it on their minds. Let them. I print up fucking t-shirts. You know what I mean? These guys.
You're a mean man.
No more double doink. Don't let it come down to a double doink.
I don't want any of those T-shirts. Don't send any to me.
I don't want to wear it. I just want to hand them out at training camp to the players. But no, I think keep on pounding them over the head. I don't want these guys to forget that feeling. You talk about Greg Popovich and basketball and all that. It's part of it. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. The Chicago Bulls had to get past the Detroit Pistons. You had to take a bunch of L's. You had to learn how to win in the playoffs. You can do it in the regular season. You have to taste defeat before you can enjoy the fruits of your spoils. So that's this young impressionable team. Hit them over the head with it. Don't fucking forget. We want the fucking Lombardi. We want the Lombardi, guys. We have to get past that. So don't let him forget it. I think he's doing the right thing.
The only problem I have with it is, it's like Carolina said, it's not just about the double doink. There were a lot of other aspects to that game that cost them.
Right.
You could almost name every player, from the starters. And so, are you showing those, or are you just picking on the guy that left the team?
Tariq said that he is. If you listen back to Tariq Cohen, he said he's showing us plays within the game, not just that. And he was more importantly showing them, the players, the look on their face, the look at the crowd. Because we all felt my 8-year-old son was 7 at the time, threw himself on the floor, and that was like literally one of the things that got me through it, because as a dad, I had to use that as a teaching moment. Said, no, we're not gonna throw ourselves on the floor. I'm gonna pick you up, and you're gonna take this. You're gonna play sports all through your high school career. Junior high, elementary. We're not gonna cry about it. If you lose, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna bust your ass twice as hard next time to prevent that from happening again. And as a father figure, as a head coach, like Matt Nagy in that position, I think he's doing the same thing. Don't let him forget it.
Carolina, you want to put a bow on this discussion, or should we move on?
No, I want to put a fucking bow on this shit. I just want to say fuck Parky. And I'm glad that they play that shit over and over again. I didn't like being recorded on everybody's Instagram lives when I was at the bar, because I was the only motherfucker that just seemed to care, and I felt my heart sink into my stomach. I felt like the teddy bear mascot that fell to the side, and I felt like my soul was crushed. Like I just felt like I died.
She doesn't know the story of my family, Aldo. My entire family are all Philadelphia Eagles fans. Rabid. Even my mother. Like, my mother showed up to my draft party in a customized Jordan Howard Philadelphia Eagles jersey.
Wow.
You
See,
know?
like I would have got into a fight. And
Yeah.
I just remember the feel, like I felt like I got defeated, and I was getting it from everybody here in Texas, everybody's Cowboys fans. So I placed an omen, and I said, "You guys are losing next week. Fuck y'all," and they did.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that I drill it in their heads. Never forget that moment. We'll be back next year, and we'll be better, honey.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. What else did we have scheduled to talk about? Let me look at my little list here. Oh, I wanted to know about are you looking forward for any camp battles? I'm super excited. I'm going to Bourbonnais. They've got 10 open practices for fans. I've got tickets for all 10 of them. That opening weekend, I actually got a hotel in Bourbonnais, so I don't have to make that 60-mile drive back and forth. I'm staying at a little cabin near the stadium.
Don't ruin the bathroom this time, you fucker.
Carolina, last time I better not share that story.
Yeah, I want to hear the story. I want to hear the story. There's going to be people listening to this for the first time. We got to hear the story.
He might have backed up the toilet a little bit.
Yeah, somebody was.
See, now you're sorry. I just saw that face.
Exactly.
Now you're sorry.
I was like,
somebody was in from out of town, and she let me use the washroom early that morning because I was picking her up from her hotel to take her to Bourbonnais. So she let me use the washroom because I had to go do a number 2. Well, I go to do the number 2, and when I flush, all of a sudden the water ain't going down and the pool ain't going down. It's coming up, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, so that was an omen to Parky.
Yeah.
The piece of shit that wouldn't flush.
That's excellent. That's excellent. All right, so camp at Bourbonnais, there's going to be so many cool battles, position battles at the tight end position, wide receiver position, running back position, you name it. And so I'm interested in learning from you two, what battles should I be kind of focused in, especially that first weekend. I'm going to see 3 straight practices back to back to back. What should I be looking at? Should I be looking at the wide receiver, tight ends, or what have you? So Shayne, let me begin with you.
For me, right off the top, wide receiver is going to be fascinating to watch. Siobhan Wims is getting first team reps this offseason.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then they go out and you're doubling down and you're bringing in Riley Ridley and still have Taylor Gabriel, Allen Robinson. It's going to be so fun. When is this? This is not Chicago Bears. We're not used to this. We have actual depth. I mean, the Bears are going to have to trade somebody or cut a legitimate player at wide receiver. So to me, it's number 1 wide receiver that I'm watching, and then you're going over to I'll leave it for Carolina. If she's going to go there, I won't go to another position group. But number 1, like I said, wide receiver. It's going to be this team is young, explosive, and with high upside, high character guys all throughout that wide receiver core, and I cannot wait to watch it. These preseason games 1 through 4, when there's 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I'm still going to be watching it, just like I'm excited to watch any game because I want to see how these battles unfold. So it's going to be awesome.
Yep, I totally agree. What do you got, Carolina?
Well, I think that Shayne is copying my homework because, I want everybody to know that I'm not just piggybacking off of him, but I am really looking forward to the camp battles of the wide receiver position. I am excited about the rookie Riley Ridley. I think that Calvin Ridley is a good big brother to him, and I think that he is not as, I don't think he's as good as Riley Ridley, but he could be developed just as well. And it's going to be good to see him against Taylor Gabriel. I think that they're on the opposite spectrum of Allen Robinson. So I think that that's going to be a good battle to see. I think that looking at their styles, it's gonna be interesting to see their styles. So I'm excited to see how that works out. And then, of course, I'm also looking forward to Skrine versus Shelley as well.
Nice.
I think that losing Bryce Callahan to Vic Fangio left I feel like it left, I don't know, kind of like a gap in that position.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see who's going to come out as the overall winner. So I'm excited to see that as well.
Good stuff from both of you. I'm excited about all of it. I as I get older, my ADD gets worse and worse. So I'm going to be.
I thought you were going to say you're excited about buying a new plunger.
Well, that's actually a good idea. I'm going to throw a plunger in the back of the SUV. You never know when I might need it.
When you might need it, yeah.
Exactly. I want
and
my
a
own
bucket and a mop bucket.
You got that right. So I'm excited about all the camp battles, but I'm definitely going to be looking at what's going on at the tight end position. I really do expect Dax Raymond to make this team. The undrafted free agent from Utah State. But at the same time, there's other tight ends on this team that could surprise. And then the whole Bradley Soul, being moved from the offensive line to the tight end position. I'll be taking a special look at those positions. But heck, I'll be out there and I'll be live tweeting and giving reports as to what I see. And it's going to be a ton of fun. And I got to tell you, it's been a ton of fun having Carolina Teague with us. We like to use the phrase not hit it out of the ballpark here, but you stepped up in the pocket and you threw a dime to the open wide receiver, and after he scored the touchdown, you went downfield and gave him a big high five. You brought it today on Bears 100 Proof. Outstanding job.
Gracias. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys like me. I'm glad you guys appreciate the fact that I don't kick with a low trajectory. That I kick with a high trajectory, and that I'm the person you can count on 4th and 1.
There you go. I love it.
I'm 6'3". I don't know if I like it that she kicks with that high trajectory or not. If I step out of line.
Shayna, go ahead. I'm sorry, Carolina.
I was going to say thank you guys so much for having me. This was so much fun. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And I was going to ask Shayne if he's ever been kicked in the nuts by somebody.
Well, I grew up in a house full of women, so I kind of knew my place. You know what I mean? I can be a big talker, but I'm a big softy at heart. And like I said, I kind of tend to sit in the weeds, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are going fucking crazy, so I'm going to go over here and just be quiet over the quarter. So I might have mistakenly been smacked there or something, but never pissing a woman off and have her go crazy on my package like that.
That is a blessing that you've had that. Carolina, let our listeners know where they can find you on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, you guys. All you guys listening today, you guys can find me at Carolina Teague _. That's Carolina like the state. Last name is T as in Tom, Lee, and Teague like league. So Carolina Teague _. And I am a huge Bears fan. I cover sports for San Antonio. So obviously my main coverage is going to be the Spurs and obviously football. But I always have room to tweet about the Bears. I always have room to tweet about the Chicago Bulls. Those are my two favorite teams. I cater to both of my audiences, my Chicago fans and my San Antonio fans. So I love everybody. And I really appreciate you guys for having me on. My name is Carolina Teague, #HoneyBear, #the podcast prostitute. So anytime you guys want to have me on, go ahead and give me a call. I'll be happy to be here.
Well, we definitely want to have you back here at the bar room, and especially on this particular show because you fit right in perfectly.
Thank you. I forgot to mention one more thing.
Sure.
I'm an on-air personality fill-in for the Ticket 760 AM. We're the top-rated sports radio station in San Antonio, and I'm also a writer for sportsastoldbyagirl.com, and I cover various topics. So anything sports-related, you guys want to keep up with me, go ahead and do that. I am definitely your girl.
Awesome. It's been a great treat having you on with us. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you, guys.
That was fun. Carolina knows her stuff, man.
You gotta love a little Texas Spitfire, right?
Exactly.
She's not afraid, not backing down. She's got that high leg kick, so it's keeping us in order.
Yeah, the first hour she was using the word freaking, and in the last hour she was letting go with F-bombs. I love it.
I could definitely see us cracking a beer or two with Carolina and watching some football. I think that'd be fun.
Without a doubt. All right, I just wanted to touch on before we get into our shout-outs, I just want to touch on this situation that happened this week. We had somebody who has not been a friend of Bears Barroom post. It took two clips of audio from two different shows and sent it out over the internet via Twitter, where we were being disrespectful to a former colleague of ours. And as anyone that listens to this particular show, we know that we kid people, and we know that our humor is biting. This show is modeled after the Howard Stern show, and so we can take it to the limit. Now, sometimes do we go over the limit? Absolutely, and particularly when you're editing together two different pieces of audio, because the most grievous statement that was said on that show wasn't even said with the particular person's name on that. Editing together both clips made it seem a lot worse. But be that as it may, we were guilty of an offense here, and so I reached out to our former colleague and apologized a couple of times privately and again publicly, and she was gracious enough to accept our apology. That's what I wanted to say about that. Shayne, I don't know if you've got anything to add.
No, it goes along the same thing with what you said, Aldo. I talked to the same person that you did. We talked for a solid 60 minutes. About everything. Like I said, I said my part with what I was involved in. I know heat of the moment, it's not an excuse. I'm just telling you, you get caught up in riffing, and we're a satirical show, like you said, based off Howard Stern. Like, again, not an excuse. 100% own up to things that I have done, things that I have said, but we don't live in a perfect world. People make mistakes on both sides. And, when we talked, there was apologies on both sides of the fence. And I think that was good. That was healthy. And here we are. It's no harm, no foul. There's still going to be people out there that don't love us, that don't like us, that don't want to have anything to do with us. And that just added fuel to their fire, but it is what it is. And like we said, although you and I talked, if you don't like us, then we're not here to tell you to listen. Just hit unsubscribe.
That's it.
It's pretty easy.
And I think that's a big part of what I wanted to share, just exactly what Shayne said there. This particular show is not for everybody.
Right.
One of the things about Bears Barroom Radio Network is that we've got a dozen other shows, and half of those cover the Chicago Bears. And so we hope to offer something that's more your cup of tea. And, I've actually wondered maybe this particular show should be a premium show where you pay for it, and so it doesn't come into your timeline, and you don't, it doesn't intermingle with some of the other G-rated or PG-rated type shows. I know this show is for a particular audience. Now, I also know that this show is the highest rated show on the network. We get 3 times the numbers of some of the other shows. 2 times the number of some of the other shows. And so, this show is popular because of what we have done. I got a great email from one of our listeners, and he asked about what I meant when I went to Twitter and said that we were installing a code of conduct for the show. And he said, I hope that you guys are not going to do away with what has made this show special, besides the good football analysis and good football talk and so forth. And he said, don't let, a couple of mistakes with the jokes change the tenor of the show. And I want to thank this emailer for his comments, because that made me think, yeah, we shouldn't change this show. This show has been successful for the reasons that it is uncensored and unencumbered. Now, were we wrong to take a private battle that we were having with a former colleague and bring it onto the air with some jokes and so forth? Yeah, and we've admitted to that. But when it comes down to this code of conduct, it's basically that we're just not going to do that again, that we're not going to be mean towards Bears Twitter and to former colleagues. We're going to pick our targets a little bit more carefully. And again, if you are not, if you don't want to be a part of that humor, it's Bears 100 Proof then that you should not listen to. We've got other fabulous shows, Buffon 55, the Barfly Tailgate Show, the Mike North Advantage, and on and on and on, that give you Bears information, Bears entertainment in a manner that you probably will like. But Bears 100 Proof isn't going to change. You just heard it. If you've stuck with us for the previous 2 hours of Carolina Teague, you've heard what this show is about,
right.
and it's only going to continue that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Aldo, you would agree with me on this. If anybody has an issue or would like, has a question and would like it answered, feel free. Our DMs are open.
Yep.
Reach out to us. We have no problem doing it. I mean, you don't have to. If you want to do it on Twitter, we can handle it in DMs. It's none of this has been something that Aldo and I have something happened, or even back to when Phil was on us. We have never one time sat down and said, this is a target, this is where we're going,
right.
This is what we're going to do. It's everything that's been completely unscripted. And one thing that I think that is important to get out there was talk that people thought that it was funny that Phil came back as our guest host, and then there was an attack. Yeah. Phil had zero to do with anything. It was a completely heat of the moment thing. Aldo brought a name up. I reacted because that's what this show is based off. My mistake. I owned up to it.
And it was my mistake to do that as well.
Yeah, Aldo did his part. But to tie Phil Atoshin into anything with last week's show is, I don't care what anybody says, and I would go down fighting on this one. He had zero to do with it, nothing to do with it, and I think that's important to get out there, because I know because of Phil's past, that some people didn't agree with everything that went on. They think that just guilt by association. Oh, Phil was back for one show, and then there was an attack, and tying it in. And Aldo, you can speak to this too. It just wasn't true. It wasn't anything that Phil had no input, no previous knowledge, and neither do we. It's literally a heat of the moment thing. That's what the show. There's no script to the show. We 99% of the time, Aldo, when you and I have been on here, and even back to Phil, we just went. Right. Because we all know each other's mannerisms, and we can all talk football, and there's nothing that's been targeted. It's just all been heat of the moment, and I think that's kind of what makes us special, is that Aldo will say something and you're hearing the raw emotion reaction from us. May not be right. We may have to apologize for it, but that's part of the deal here, and that's the way that we've run things. Our numbers have shown that a lot of people like it, right, wrong, or indifferent. So, I think your emailer has made a great point. Don't tear something down because for a small group of people, but at the same time, we can get better as a group and not, go after specifics and, Bears Twitter, because, hey, we're on the brink of of something special here, of something that we haven't seen. So absolutely, we need Bears Twitter all aimed in the right direction. And doesn't mean we can't still take shots at Evan Silva and Jason Lockenfora and Peter Bukowski and all those guys, we can still take our shots and still be 100 proof. So I think that's the direction that we're headed. And I mean, I think we're going to still be 100 proof.
By the way, it was Nick Diffenbaugh who sent me that email. And again, Nick, I highly, truly appreciate the kind comments. And there were other people that have reached out to me via DM on Twitter and in phone calls who were very supportive. And frankly, you know, the person who posted this material about us, we've had an ongoing battle, for lack of a better way of putting it, with that person. And I have to question the motivation behind what he was doing. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we've made a lot of fun of this particular person. He was a guest on the show. We've used some drops from him. You know, he's said some things about football and players that we disagree with. I mean, here's one of them.
If Mike Glennon throws a ball a millisecond late, what a piece of garbage. But if Tom Brady does it, you say, oh, man, that receiver should have got out of his brakes faster.
Now, that's a stupid comment. It's a stupid football comment, and we made fun of it. We didn't make fun of the person who said it. We made fun of the comment. And so that's what we've tried to do. But unfortunately, we have overstepped the bounds of that once or twice, and for that we're guilty, and we apologize for that, and we hope to move forward in a more responsible manner, but continue to have the edge that we've developed on this show. None of us are, we don't have a professional censor board, and we're professionals at this, so we're learning as we go, and clearly we've hurt some feelings, and we've made our apologies, and so hopefully you can either accept the apology or turn us off, or turn this particular show off, so that we don't offend you in the future.
Yeah, totally right. And like you said, we're reacting to takes, dumbest tweets. You see something, you react to it. A hot take like, Mike Glennon. We've all had our fuck ups, but you know what? You can hate us for doing the wrong thing or saying something stupid like I did, or you bringing up the wrong thing, Aldo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit if you hate us because you're jealous of our product. That's fucking fabulous. That's not my problem. Mm-hmm. If there's jealousy involved, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. Because what we do, we put out a good product here. And it's not just Bears 100 proof. Joe Mandel busts his ass, Bobby Phelan, Ryan Badgley, these guys all bust their ass. Mike North brings it. Tooch brings it. All these guys that are involved in doing their shows, they're all putting out great products. They're putting in the work to make Bears Barroom what it is. And you want to take a couple of stupid comments that we apologize for to bring down the whole thing, then like I said, it's a simple unsubscribe.
Right. And for me personally, what bothers me is two things. It's number one, that we caused a former colleague some distress, and number two is that there's the possibility, it's not the possibility, it's the reality that some people out there are, bunching everyone that works at Bears Barroom in this category that we're irresponsible. No, it's Bears 100 proof that is guilty of anything that happened. And the shows like Buffon 55, the Mike North Advantage, the shows that Joe Mandel and Johnny Santucci do, like I Have a Stream, those shows don't have anything. They don't take this. They don't have this style. They're not ball busting style locker room humor and so forth. They're not. And so I ask those people to be fair-minded in their criticism. If you've got some criticism about the type of humor that we use, it's Bears 100 proof that you should be targeting, not the entire network, because we've got independent people doing shows and they're doing it in their style, and The Bears Blitz show, for instance, just came out this past week with a show with their main storyline of the double-doink, and it's Matt Nagy focused on that. Hilarious show. We've gotten great comments on that, but they don't. Their style is not, the 100 proof style, and so please don't lump them in. And as Shayne said, if you've got a problem, please, I've grown up where if you've got a problem with somebody, go talk to that person. And so why am I not getting any calls, any DMs, any emails from this social media vigilante? Why? Is it because he wants to try to drag down the whole network? Why is it that the people who were involved with the network before and have now been a party to this exposure of our misdeed, why aren't they calling me and saying, hey, why did you say that about this person? Why are they working behind the scenes to aid and support this person who they made fun of, who they joked about when they were a part of Bears Barroom? That to me, and I had a talk with one of the members of a show who is now doing one of the shows, and I told him, listen, you're being complicit. Oh, I just listen to what they're saying. Bullshit. Come on. If you're not listening, you're partaking in trying to smudge the bar room because of some mistakes that we have. If you were, and this person calls themselves a friend to me, if you were really a friend, you would have reached out to me and had a heart-to-heart talk with me, as opposed to working behind the scenes. And I have proof that you worked behind the scenes to try to bring us down. So don't give me that shit. And I didn't want it to go there, but I just felt like I had to express that, because the motives expressed by the person who posted this may not be totally legit. And so, I'll leave it there. Again, my heartfelt apologies to anyone that we've hurt because of comments. We will do better, but we will also still have edge. We will also still go after people for what they say. And we will still have a lot of fun here at Bears 100 Proof in our own unique Chicago Bears podcast that I'm very proud to be a part of, and very proud that Shayne Marsaw is my partner. And that's it.
And if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself.
I don't have a goddamn shout out to give, because I'm tired. It is. I know you've been working some incredible hours, my man. You haven't had a day off in a month now?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. Holy shit. So I'm going to let you go. You get some sleep, and we're going to close the show without any music, without anything. We're just going to say, please, if you drink, do not drive, and always bear down, motherfuckers.